Hello, and welcome back to the Helloship Podcast, where we explore everything I've learned from the boardroom, the bar, and the books, and some of which will hopefully be useful to you too. I'm your host, Elizabeth, and if you're familiar with my blog, the Onelife Project, you know that I truly believe that our lives are our art, unique projects we get to manage. And today, we're going to dig into something that's both hilariously inconvenient and absolutely vital. And that's the lost art of creativity. So I was recently invited to an interview by the truly wonderful and talented Laurie Maves, who I connected with over on Substack. And Laurie is a brilliant artist, and she posted a really warm, engaging video asking people to share how creativity has helped or healed in any way. So it was a really good generic prompt. And I think I saw it about 2 minutes after she posted it. So seriously, my fingers practically flew across the keyboard there. My creative bat signal. And speaking of signals, Johnny and I have escaped the suffocating heat of our usual spot down about 20 minutes from the beach in the southwest of France. And we've moved 30 minutes up the road to cooler climes, to the hills and rivers here in the southwest. And the grand plan was to dive headfirst into my second book. But I'll be completely honest, other creative endeavours keep popping up like enthusiastic meerkats. And I'm not sure if I'm letting them distract me or if they are actually the primary purpose of my time here. It is a truly creative conundrum, folks. Anyway, as I contemplate yet another relocation, spoiler alert, I put an offer in on my fourth house in France. That's a long story. I'm afraid you're going to have to buy the book. Put an offer on my fourth place in France that's looking like this might be the one. P.S. If you are listening to this and you are thinking about a life in France or moving to France, please, this four offers in France and my story has nothing to do with the French system for buying property. It's entirely to do with me and my circumstances, and actually buying here, the first time I bought here was really easy, and fingers crossed this time will be really easy too. It's all to do with succession and funds and various things that are completely out of my control. Anyway, where was I? Contemplating another relocation. Because my life is basically a series of increasingly elaborate packing exercises as I go place to place, looking for warmth in the cold and looking for cool in the heat. And I was actually thinking about what I could finally mercifully throw away in this final move. I've left so much behind here and there already. I don't want to think about it too much. It makes me a little sad. But I wonder if I've even got a toothbrush at this point. But the truth is, I've probably got 5, but I just don't know where they are. Anyway, so I was thinking about my diaries, my teenage diaries from boarding school. The diaries, my goodness, have they caused some controversy over the years. Read by my father, read by a very duplicitous boyfriend. Friends have read them, friends have written in them. Anyway, painstakingly poured over night after night, a teenager's ramblings, if you will, unfiltered and honest, because we were back then, or at least as honest as we could be, and maybe that's true today. Boarding school life captured with elements of graphic art showing up on every single page. And I've tried to chuck these things away so many times because there's 2 great big bags of them. I just can't bring myself to do it. It's like trying to throw away a part of my own history, albeit a very angsty, graffiti-filled part of my history. At that point, I didn't know that I wasn't going to have children. I wasn't going to get married. I thought there would be somewhere for these stories to land, and maybe it's Substack, maybe it's you, maybe it's anybody that's listening. Anyway, but I did make the decision to finally get to my digs, unpack, and I'm going to photograph each and every page and serialize them week by week on Substack, because I know how much writing those pages helped me, and maybe, just maybe, they can help someone else too. I will, however, have to transcribe them, not because my writing is illegible. I've been told it's very beautiful, but because I'm almost certain that a large percentage of readers won't be able to read them. I'm going to talk more about that later. Fast forward a week to my conversation with Laurie, and she took me right back to my childhood. And creativity really was huge in my early years. I was a bit of a piano playing prodigy, or at least other people thought I was. I just played the piano. I danced and I particularly read voraciously. My first Stephen King novel was handed to me at the age of 7. Yeah, 7. It was hidden under the bed under a pillow after lights out. But nothing says good parenting like a 7-year-old and The Shining before bed. But beyond the illicit reading, I absolutely adored writing. The physical act of writing. Hours spent sharpening my pencils for the perfect, agonizingly sharp point. I practiced incessantly, obsessed with forming letters perfectly and beautifully. We spent a year in America where I progressed from normal joined up handwritings, I was 8, to full-blown cursive. And then when we returned, I created my very own beautiful, unique hybrid script. And no one in the world had or has handwriting like me. I mean, handwriting is unique, but it was totally different to all the kids that are grown up learning to write in the same way. And that, my friends, is why people might struggle to read my diaries. Reading cursive or elegantly joined up writing is sadly a dying skill. And according to historian Drew Gilpin-Faust in her article, The Atlantic, she discovered that Gen Z never learnt to read cursive, and that she found in her classes over 80% of her students were reviewing old, not ancient, just old documents, and they might as well have been reading Russian. And this truly saddens me. Drew was shocked. She was a historian. She didn't know. She had no idea. And neither did I until fairly recently. And the weird thing is, I should have realised over the years when, people weren't taking in some of the things that I'd written, even at school to a degree. People who had much more simplistic handwriting struggled to read my handwriting. For me, it was like, what? It's just handwriting. But they never learnt. And that's okay. That's absolutely okay. It's something that can be changed, that can be remedied, that can be learnt. But by the age of 14, I had 5 or 6 different styles of handwriting, and some with playful circles and flourishes, the hearts over the eyes and all of that, and others for essay writing and for assignments. And during my conversation with Laurie, I wondered if I wasn't experimenting as much with my character and personality as I was with the pen and paper. I'd never, ever considered this before. Like, who did I want to be in that day when I picked up one particular pen, one particular coloured ink, and decided to write in one particular style of writing? I'd never ever considered that my physical writing might have been a representation of my inner world, just as much as the words it formed. And it was like some kind of early form of identity exploration, perhaps, all on paper. I even taught myself calligraphy, which I absolutely loved. It's just so beautiful and really calming to write in that elegant form. And then there's the story of Baghdad, which is where we moved to in 1988. In 1989, on a flight back to the UK from Baghdad, we found ourselves unexpectedly landing in Rome. in the stifling heat of a 747, surrounded by the Italian military, each with a rifle pointed at the plane, I chose a fountain pen with a thick nib and neon yellow ink. It was the late 80s. And then in full calligraphy, I told the story of the man who was locked in the bathroom, allegedly with a bomb. I chose another pen to write different writing styles to the letters that I wrote to my friends who I loved dearly. And I wasn't sure I was ever going to see any of them again. It was a rather poor choice of tools on my part, I think, looking back, to memorialise this huge event, actually. And I suspect that story is now barely legible, even to me, all these years later. Isn't it great? I've got a podcast now to tell you all about it. And what is the cost of outsourcing our brains, by the way? What is the evolutionary cost of outsourcing our thinking when we have pens and we have paper? If I had €1 for every time somebody told me how much they hated their handwriting or apologised for it, I would have moved by now. Basically, I wouldn't be on my however many moves. 10 actually in the last 18 months. Like anything, handwriting can be improved with practice. But it just seems to me that no one cares about writing anymore. Storytelling, yes. Writing, not so much. Storytelling, yes, because people can see a way to make money in that. I suspect people can't see a way to make money from actually sitting down with a pen and paper, but they'd be so wrong. They would be so wrong. And that's what this podcast is looking to explore and stimulate within you guys. It's a cheap, free, basic human skill. It makes us smarter, it makes us healthier, and it improves our focus and concentration. It's proven. And it has the power to counter many of the issues that we face today as humans. There are some big gaps in my diaries, and despite writing consistently, there were times when I just couldn't muster the will, sometimes weeks. Things were either too good or too awful to put pen to paper. And I know what lives in those gaps, and I often wish I had the words on the page to find the answers that I sometimes go looking for today. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about creativity and the inconvenient truth. And this is the serious bit, guys. Technology has rapidly replaced our own abilities to process life's complexities. And as a result, we are more dependent, more fearful, and honestly, several to many IQ points stupider because of it. Creativity lies in our minds and in our actions, in the development of the idea, the plan, and the strategy, whatever your body of work is. The more we turn to technology solutions to outsource our growth and our brain development, are we really just issuing a loud cry for creative help? Reading, writing, and visualization, which is the development of your imagination, movement and silence, where, let me tell you, the magic truly happens. I've already talked about this in several of my blogs and my podcasts, and they're all free. They're all free. You don't have to pay a monthly subscription for any of it. And it was here in the deafening silence of the Herald Hills that my new course, The Novice's Guide to Not Novel Writing, burst out of me, because that's what happens when you practice creativity. It's less about the seeking the moments for creativity to manifest. It just comes all the time. That's pretty magical, isn't it? So what about embracing the inconvenience of creativity? Taking out the tech. This course was born from hours of supporting new writers with feedback on their work and encouraging them to check their thinking around their motivations for writing in the first place, because people honestly did not seem to be having fun. They were not enjoying the process at all. It was painful and it was heavy, and it made me sad. I don't think things are meant to be this difficult. Yes, there is certainly pain in the learning process of trying to do anything new for the first time. But the bit that shocks me is this is not new. This is writing, taking a pen and a bit of paper. And what I now understand is that people have not been doing this throughout their lives. And so we don't all come from the same place when it comes to writing. And I understand that. I really, really do understand that. And that's why I've put this together. Because I didn't write my novel until I realized I had all the component parts to write it. And then I just wrote it. And sometimes it's about gathering that capital, whether it's intellectual capital, whether that's creative capital, whether that's well-being capital, whether that's stories that you want to tell. Maybe there is more experience that needs to be had, but it's all about gathering the capital until your bag's full and you just got to put it down and write. So this course was just created. And yeah, so while checking people's motivations around why they wrote, and this is the coach in me that comes out. If it's super difficult, is it the right goal? I dislike nothing more than time wasting in my own life, or seeing other people wasting their own time. Wrong goals, wrong motivation, and misdirection that steals our time and robs us of the opportunities to see what is really meant for us. And so this course was created. It gently pokes fun at the pace we often set off at in the direction of the wrong outcome, only to realize too late that we should have been doing something else entirely. And if you think I'm taking the piss out of you right now, please know that I spent 20 years working in a corporate environment. And that environment was not my space. I don't even know yet exactly where my space is or what my space looks like. But I'm still finding out. And that's why creativity is so essential, certainly to my growth and me continually finding meaning and purpose in the things that I do. So if your only problem is not writing, then I'm not sure what I want to say about that. Then actually maybe that's not your only problem, I suppose. Maybe that's it. If your only problem is not writing, maybe that isn't your only problem. But that's what this course explores. So I hope you'll check out my introduction and blog describing its content, so you can see if you want to engage with it, if you want to invest in it. And this isn't a one-off money spinner for me. This is, as I've already said, it's a culmination of life experience, painfully acquired wisdom, and a genuine desire to support others in finding their path. Writing is an amazing and gentle catalyst for this, and it is meant to be fun. So let's embrace the inconvenience of creativity. Let's pick up a pen, doodle in a notebook, design the most incredible shopping list that you have ever dreamed up, or just sit in silence and let our brains do the heavy lifting. Because if we don't, we'll be outsourcing our most precious human qualities. And trust me, that's a creative project that ends in a very unfulfilling final chapter. Enjoy the journey, and I will catch up with you next time on the Helloship Podcast.